Hi, good morning, everybody. Today we are talking about building transitions between body paragraphs. So at this point, my hope is that you will have already finished up your revision of body paragraphs to make sure that they follow that reader-based model rather than the writer-based model. So at this point, you may have some islands of great ideas in paragraphs where each paragraph has a coherent idea internally, but maybe you're struggling to build some connections between them. And we've been all given some advice about transitions, and it's not always been great advice. So often, what we've been told to do is use transition words and phrases. So, for example, if we're looking at these two body paragraphs, know that you're welcome to pause it and read the paragraphs if you'd like, but I don't want to read them to you since you're adults, and I trust that you can pause them and read them. But know that often what will happen is people will say, well, just put in a transition word like then. You can also put in next, furthermore, whatever it may be. But let's think about this for a minute, right? The goal of a good transition is to help guide the reader into understanding the relationship between the two paragraphs. And if you put next in right here, we already know you're going to your next paragraph because you've indented. So there's no need for you to say then, next, furthermore, because we know you're going in that direction anyway. Instead, what we need is for you to tell us the relationship between this paragraph that you're starting and the previous. What's the logical connection that brings us from one paragraph to the next? So I want you to think about it a little bit here like a Venn diagram. You've got your first paragraph here, you've got a topic or shared idea, and your second paragraph. Often what happens is there is a connection, there's this shared idea in the middle, but it's your job to spell out clearly how they all connect. You need to say what this connection is. So your goal in a good transition is twofold. You are going to say what is the shared idea and what is the new idea being introduced. Those two goals. If you accomplish those two goals in your introduction, you're golden. You have guided the reader's attention, you've walked them gently from one step to the next, and you're in great shape from there. Let me show you a little bit about what that looks like here. These are two paragraphs. This paragraph is the one, if you followed our video from the revision of body paragraphs, this is our paragraph that talks about the first lines of the letter that Sonny sends his brother in Sonny's Blues. The next one is a paragraph, and we're talking about Sonny's brother struggling to understand the role of music, and we offered some evidence where he says, all I know about music is that not many people ever really hear it, and even then, on the rare occasions when something opens up within and the music enters, what we mainly hear or hear corroborated are personal, private, vanishing evocations. And so we go on in that paragraph, we talk a lot about how he's understanding in this sort of modernist sense, right? Remember, modernism is about understanding what we don't know and what we can't have access to. He is talking about the role that music is playing in this failure, that we can share the experience of music, but we don't necessarily share a direct line of solid communication, even though something very human is being shared. So there's this sort of sharing without communication that's happening through music that we're seeing. So we have two great paragraphs, right? Two really good ideas. How do we get our reader to understand how we got from one to the next? Here's the trick. We're going to use what I call a pocket square. And a pocket square, for those of you who are into fashion, is the little square, the little handkerchief that often matches the necktie that men wear in suits. The idea here is we want to take one little piece from this first paragraph right up here and connect it to the bottom. It's not super difficult, but we want to see if there's a connection, and then we're going to borrow a piece of language or a phrase and put it into this first sentence somehow. So here, Sonny even says he needed to hear from his brother and that he worries his brother will misinterpret the role of music in his addiction. Then we move into this paragraph that says Sonny's brother struggles to understand the role that music plays in shaping Sonny's identity. So they're very close. We already see the logic likely why one person would go from one paragraph to the next, but we still haven't said it clearly and explicitly for our audience. That's all we have to do here is say that what we do is we find that pocket square and we talk about this misinterpretation because we already have the role of music coming in here. So we see the role of music is there, but the key here is about this misinterpretation is really the connection. So what we've added here is a line that just explains how did we get from one to the other. We say, you know what, we are interested in pursuing this thread of misinterpretation. We're going to bring that line in, and we're going to make sure that the reader knows we are going from the misinterpretation of the role of music to see how this goes. Now, notice this yet still struggles to understand. That's key as well, because if you remember from the Venn diagram, your job is twofold. One, spell out the connection, and two, show us the new thing you're adding to it. The new thing we're adding here is this idea of a struggle. We don't have any of Sonny's brothers struggling in this paragraph. We do have it in here, a lot of it, and we have a full development of why he struggles. So again, the key is not magic. You're going to tell the reader how you got from one point to the other by borrowing a piece of language or two, putting it into that claim in the first line, and you're in good shape. But know this, that if you haven't been through the revision of your body paragraphs, this part is not possible. It's going to be very difficult, if not completely impossible. So make sure you're working through these in steps. This is one of the final steps you'll take before really going through and ironing out your introduction to make sure that it encapsulates all of your arguments. But if you do this step in conjunction with the previous one outlined in the first video for this week, you're going to be in pretty good shape. I think these are two really nice ways to go about making sure that your paper has this cohesion and has this flow on the bigger level. So I hope that you find this useful. I hope this is really clear about what you need to do to make sure that your paragraph connects all the dots. Make sure you do this with each of your paragraphs. And if you have any questions about this, just let me know. Thank you. I'll have a great week.